Hello everyone, my name is Jed Shlackman. I work as a holistic counselor and an energy healer and hypnotherapist. For this video I want to speak about the chakras. The chakras are energy centers or vortexes. In some traditions they identify 7 major chakras. You may see other spiritual teachers or healing practitioners discuss systems with more than 7 chakras perhaps. I'll be focusing on the 7 major ones that most people are familiar with, and you can really think of energy vortexes as existing in many areas, not just in those 7 locations. But we're looking at this in an archetypal kind of way. So I'll be discussing each of these 7 major energy centers, the issues of our life that they relate to. So those are the archetypal issues or regions, and particular wounds that can occur. So a wound would be something distressing or traumatic that happens in a person's life, and their reaction to that wounding or trauma involves some disruption of the energy flow in that energy vortex or chakra area. So we can think of it as we have this really powerful, immense energy that comes from our soul or spiritual essence. We bring that energy here into our human experience, and then through our experiences in human life, we start to constrict or disrupt the healthy, optimal flow of that energy. We start to try to protect ourselves to avoid further stress or trauma. And it's kind of paradoxical, because the more we do that, the more we disrupt or constrict that energy flow, the more we end up bringing ourselves into additional experiences of stress and trauma, where we are blocking ourselves even more. So we can go deeper and deeper into that descent, or we can start to work on the healing process, releasing those traumas and blockages, so we can be once again more open to our natural energy flow and able to create and manifest more of what we desire in life. There are different traditions and systems that look at these phenomena and use different language or terminology to discuss what's occurring. In a shamanic tradition, they speak about soul loss or soul fragmentation, where something happens that kind of disconnects you from a part of your energy. So it's as though a piece of your energy or essence has become stuck or trapped with that experience or memory. And a spiritual practitioner, a shaman, someone who works on the healing process, will attempt to restore that energy. They might call that soul retrieval. So going back to that experience, releasing that trauma, and allowing that portion of your energy to come back to you here in the present. Different psychological healing methods function in a similar way or support that same purpose. So we're ready now to look at each of the 7 major chakras and identify what are some of the major archetypal wounds that occur, the common themes that happen in human life that could cause a disruption or constriction of the energy flow. We'll start out with the first chakra, which is referred to as the root chakra or base chakra. The root chakra is the one that has to do with our grounding, our literally being rooted to the earth, basic physical survival and stability. If something occurs in your life that literally threatens your life or causes you to have to leave your physical location, that could create a wound related to the root chakra. So if you're living in a place that gets harmed by some natural disaster or by war, and you and your family have to leave, that could be a root chakra disturbance or wound that occurs there where your energy is no longer fully grounded or fully settled or stable. You feel like you have to be on the move, you can't be settled down. So that could be an issue related to the root chakra. Anything that affects your sense of physical safety. So there could be, as an example, some physical violence that occurs either directed toward you or toward people in your immediate environment. So if some violence occurs in your home or in your family, if you're at school or in your workplace and someone is attacked or shot there, that could affect your sense of safety. Even vicariously watching something occur on the news or on a TV program or in a movie where you see people being harmed by physical violence, if you're extra sensitive, that could affect your own sense of safety for yourself. So anything involving your physical location or physical survival that can impact the root chakra and the natural open flow of energy there. Next we come up to the second chakra, which is called the sacral chakra or sacral center. This energy center relates to our creativity and our sexuality. So any traumatic experience that disrupts your feeling of safety with your sexual intimacy, anything that, let's say, blocks or restricts your ability to use your creativity, those can all impact the second chakra, the flow of energy through that second energy vortex. It's common for people to feel in some way violated sexually. It could be something seemingly more obvious or overt, where someone might be raped or assaulted, but could even be someone just being verbally demeaned in terms of their sexuality, someone receiving teasing about their sexuality, or just being made to feel uncomfortable in who they are as a sexual being. It could also be someone who has sexual experiences that are incongruent with their own belief systems, their own sense of what's appropriate or not in terms of sexual expression. So if someone has kind of a rigid morality related to sex and they have experiences, interactions with other people that conflict with their own prior belief or sense of what's good or bad to do sexually, that could be traumatizing for that person, even though other people around them might not perceive it that way. It's their own internal subjective sense of their sexuality and their sexual experience. There are also people who have creative talents. So it could be someone who's artistic, or someone who's musical or dramatic, or someone who likes to write or create stories or poems, some way of expressing their creativity. And at some point in their life they might have been criticized. They could receive some negative feedback about their creative expression that causes them to start to restrict it, to not feel confident or comfortable sharing what they would naturally otherwise be expressing. So that could create some restriction in the energy through that second chakra. Next, we're coming to the third chakra, or energy center. This is called the solar plexus. This center relates primarily to our personal power, to how we assert ourselves in the world around us, to how we are seen by others. So being able to just shine, to use your power, your life force, to project yourself into your social environment. If we're not allowed to fully express or exert ourselves, then we might be closing ourselves in the solar plexus area. So if you're taught or told in some way that you're not important or valuable, that your will isn't important, that you need to kind of confine yourself to serving others, to doing the bidding of other people, or allowing them to in some way control or dominate you, then your energy starts getting constricted in your solar plexus, because you're not projecting your own power or will. You're holding yourself in, essentially, to conform to others, to feel safe in those environments, so that other people won't overpower you or won't attack you. So as a form of protection, perhaps, of self-protection, to avoid conflict, you might constrain your own energy and just kind of allow other people around you to direct you or push you to do what they feel they want you to do. Next, we're coming to the heart chakra. Your heart center is your main emotional center. This is where we experience love and compassion and connection. So loving connection is a core issue with our heart chakra. And when we're feeling a strong loving connection, that helps open that energy center so that loving energy can flow through, so we can connect with others. However, when we experience some form of heartbreak or grief, some unpleasant feeling or emotion related to our connections with others, we might start to constrict our heart to try to protect ourselves from feeling pain. But by constricting our heart, we're actually limiting our connections. We're limiting our ability to experience deep love, to experience more close and intimate connections with others. So that's the shadow side of doing that. We start to close off our compassion for others. We may feel we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually inhibiting our own ability to share love and to receive love. So it could be experiencing loss, it could be experiencing heartache, it could be experiencing rejection, betrayal, abandonment. We have experiences in life that may trigger those feelings or sensations, and the more we experience that, the more we might feel we want to avoid those feelings, the more we start trying to close ourselves off to, quote, protect our heart. But in reality, we're constricting our heart, and we're not allowing ourselves to fully embrace life or fully embrace ourselves. The next chakra we're going to explore is the throat chakra. This is our communication center, and with communication we are able to form more close connections with other people, and we are also able to express our will, to assert our needs, our desires, to express our ideas. So the communication center is important. In our human life experience, there are times where we experience some form of negative reaction or feedback from our environment when we do communicate or express ourselves. People may be upset with what we have to share. We might be speaking a truth that's upsetting other people, that they're not ready to face, and they may attack us for doing that. They may attempt to censor or silence us, and sometimes we may fear that other people will do that, and we'll just proactively silence ourselves in a way where we won't speak up even though we might have something important or relevant to share. We may anticipate that other people will attack us or criticize us, so we might be the ones censoring ourselves. Sometimes there's actually some physical assault to certain parts of our bodies. There are times when someone punches you in the stomach. There are times when someone might put their hands around your throat. So physically our body might react with constriction, with that sense of protection, and when that happens, it can affect our energy field, it can affect our chakra, so we might be constricting the energy flow there. Next, we're coming to the sixth chakra. This one is called the third eye, or sometimes it's called the brow chakra. This is located here in the center of the forehead, and this center relates to our sight, to our perception, to how we're seeing and understanding things. This chakra can get blocked or constricted when we see or perceive something that's unpleasant, that we don't want to see, or that other people don't want us to see, and we start blocking our perception of that as kind of a safety or protective mechanism so that we don't have to deal with something unpleasant. So if you witness something that's disturbing, you might start to block your visual perception because either literally or figuratively you don't want to see it. It's so unpleasant that you choose to block your perception of it. So it's like we're putting a metaphorical blindfold on. We're telling ourselves, I didn't really see that. That's not really reality. I'm going to look away and not face that. So we think of facing something as having our face looking toward it. So we're now saying, I don't want to face that. So we're kind of looking away from it, saying, I don't want to see that reality. When we do that, we're closing off that energy center. We're blocking our third eye chakra. And that actually impairs our ability to perceive things clearly, to have an accurate perception of reality. So if we tell ourselves, I only want to see things that are positive, I don't want to see things that are unpleasant, then we start to distort our perception of reality, and we avoid facing things that we may need to really face. We may need to learn how to deal with certain situations, with certain people, with certain challenges that exist in our life. If we block ourselves from facing those things, we're actually blocking our own personal development. We're kind of keeping ourselves perhaps naive or immature. We're not dealing with reality, and that can lead to even more unpleasant realities because we're not learning healthy, mature, responsible skills. Now we're ready to look at the 7th chakra and some of the archetypal wounds that can occur with that energy center. That energy center is our connection to the spiritual realm. So it's our connection to what we might label as God or a higher power, as well as to beings that exist in the non-physical dimensions of reality. If we have an unsettling spiritual experience, let's suppose that you start to see or hear spirits, and what you encounter is something unpleasant, so you hear voices that are saying something unsettling or scary to you. Or if you're a child and you're not prepared to see spirits or to see into the spiritual realm, and you start to encounter something that you're not ready for, you might be scared and you might try to avoid encountering that reality again. So you might generate a form of denial of that reality. You might tell yourself that you are just imagining something, that it's not real, it was just a dream. So you shut off your perception of the spiritual realm. You try to focus more just on the material realm, so you don't have to become uneasy or anxious about whatever might exist in those higher dimensions of reality. There are also people who block themselves spiritually because they're afraid that they've done something wrong. They're afraid that they're doing something that's disapproved of by some religious or spiritual tradition that they were brought up in. So if they are trained to have a very rigid or limited view of spiritual reality, if they're taught that only something that's part of a particular religion is acceptable and that other spiritual experiences or practices are somehow taboo or somehow evil, then they might constrain their own perception of the spiritual realm. They might create some form of blockage in that 7th chakra, in their own connection to what you could call God, to a spiritual source or higher power. So if we're afraid of things of a spiritual nature, then we start to shut ourselves off from that, or we might attract things that are more negative or fear-oriented or fear-invoking because of our fear. So if you have a fear of the spiritual dimension, that might start to distort your experiences of that dimension. So if you start to meditate, if you start to connect to spiritual beings or entities, your fear might attract fear-based experiences, so you might have entities drawn toward you that will activate your anxiety. They might reflect the very negative types of beliefs that you've been programmed with, rather than giving you something more positive. If you feel a lot of guilt or shame about who you are in your human life experience, that could create a constriction in terms of your spiritual connection. If you have more faith and trust and a sense that you are actually loved and valued unconditionally, no matter what you've done or what's happened in your life, that will tend to help open up that seventh energy center. That'll help you feel more clear, more connected to a higher power. I hope that this discussion of these major chakra centers and some of the constrictions or wounds that might occur there has given you some insight into yourself, into your own life experience. Perhaps you've had some epiphanies about where you've carried some archetypal wound that's constricted your access to the full potential of these energy centers, to a more optimal flow of life energy moving through these areas. If you're interested in learning more about spirituality and holistic healing, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's spelled PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.